I just found out that the percentage of Americans that have 0 close personal friends went from 3% in 1990 to 12% in 2021. That's 0. So that means if 1,000 people watch this video, 120 of them won't have any close personal friends. And that's something I think we need to address. There's a loneliness epidemic going on in our country, and especially with mothers. At the beginning of the year, I read this article on Substack and it blew my mind. It was titled, "Sorry, but your New Year's resolutions aren't making you happier." And it talked all about being connected with people and how that is so often overlooked when we make goals. So she starts by quoting this psychologist, Dr. Adam Bell. He says,
Harvard's longest longitudinal study says the same thing, that the people who lived the best lives, the most fulfilled lives, weren't the ones that made the most money. They weren't the ones that stayed the healthiest. They weren't the ones that exercised the most. They weren't the ones with the best jobs and therefore the greatest social status. They were the people that had a thread line of meaningful connection relationally throughout the tapestry of their life.
So surely when you're making New Year's resolutions, surely the most common goals are going to be strengthening relationships, making new friends, inviting neighbors over more, volunteering, and joining community events, right? But unfortunately, no. The most common 4 New Year's resolutions in 2025 were saving money, eating healthier, exercising more, and losing weight. And there was this girl on TikTok asking for advice for non-therapy things to do to help with her mental health. And this article that I read in Substack, she says, of the thousands of comments I read, guess how many mentioned gathering with humans at all? 3. Only 3. We just don't see it as a way to get out of our funk or to help us feel better. But John Gottman is famous for saying, working briefly on your marriage every day will do more for your health and longevity than working out. So there's this disconnect between what we think will make us happier and what will actually make a meaningful difference in our lives. Here's further evidence, which I thought was fascinating. There's this thing called the World Happiness Report put out by the UN. And in 2025, these are the topics that they had listed. Chapter 1, caring and sharing. Chapter 2, sharing meal with others. How sharing meals supports happiness and social connections. Chapter 3, living with others. How family bonds relates to happiness. Chapter 4, connecting with others. How social connections improve the happiness of young adults. Chapter 5, supporting others. How pro-social behavior reduces deaths of despair. Chapter 6, trusting others. Chapter 7, giving to others. Remember, this is the World Happiness Report. Where's the chapter on half marathons? Where's the chapter on increasing our protein intake? Every single chapter in the Happiness Report is about how we interact with other people. There's this meme you've probably seen, and it goes like this.
Why do I feel so sad today? Have you eaten? No. Have you drank any water? No. Have you done any work? No. Have you done any hobbies? Laid in bed? I don't know what the issue is. Maybe go back to bed. That's a great idea.
This is a silly little meme, but it's such a spot-on depiction of the conclusions we draw when we're not feeling well. I'm sad because I didn't exercise, I didn't eat right, I didn't drink enough water, or I didn't do my hobby. Of course, all of those things are important, but when we limit self-improvement to just self-actualization, stuff that's going to only impact our own selves, we could be doing a 10 out of 10 on all of those things and still be unhappy because we're missing either a piece or even all of the puzzle. And we know this is an issue, right? We're in the middle of a loneliness epidemic. Chronic loneliness is as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I'm serious, you can look that up. So what is to be done? I've learned a lot from reading older books and learning about the way we used to interact with each other. I recently read a book called Hunt, Gather, Parent. And one thing that I really liked was her description of ancient communities. It was never this one-on-one model that is so typical in our modern society. A mom trapped in her house with just her kids, being in charge of them all day long. Instead, it was a community of loving, caring adults who collectively took care of the children. The saying, "it takes a village," is actually rooted in our history. I found this information really helpful. I no longer have my kids home with me all day because they're mostly in school. But I think if you had this mindset, you could stop feeling so stressed about being the only one to raise your children and instead find other ways to let adults help bear the burden of child rearing. In my own way, I've tried to reach out to young mothers and share the load when I can. And with my older children, I've tried to facilitate their relationships with other adults who can also love and mentor them. One of the biggest things I think I have learned is that as a society, we've just become too picky. When we think of community, we want a perfect community. And so if people think differently than us, have different political beliefs, are annoying, or in some way don't fit our idea of what we want, we dismiss them. In historical communities, you had no choice. You were born into one village and you lived in that village your entire life. And so you had to rely on these people or die. So I think if you want to prioritize other people, you need to be more forgiving, more open-minded, more willing to interact with people who are different than you, and people who are not perfect. Jesus was this way. He was no respecter of persons. He loved everyone the same, regardless of what they believed or how they treated other people. So I would say if you're looking for more ways to connect and create community this year, here are some ideas. The first place you should start is your immediate neighbors. If you don't know well the people who live on either side of you, try to get to know them. Chat with them when you're both out getting the mail. Invite them over to dinner or to hang out in the backyard. There's this video I watched a while ago. It's called Scruffy Entertaining. And basically the idea is to get together with people regardless of how your house looks. A lot of times we don't want to invite people over because we want our house to look a certain way, or we're not quite done decorating or something like that. And having that idea just completely makes it difficult for you to connect with other people when you're not allowing them to come into your home. So anyway, it was a really interesting video. I'll be sure to link it below. But ask them about their family and then follow up with them. Also ask them to borrow something like a cup of sugar, because it's actually been shown that when you display need, people are more likely to trust you, and they're more likely to ask you for something in return. So you're able to create a deeper level of relationship. Maybe you feel like your neighbors are really old, or they're really busy, or there's something else that just makes them very different from you. But when you think about a true community, it's made up of all kinds of different people. So don't let your differences keep you from helping each other. Next is a faith community or some other kind of community organization, because you need something that connects you to the community. And so being part of an organization will mean you're automatically connected with people who are expecting to create a relationship with you. It's a lot easier to find people who are mutually interested in helping each other when you're part of an organization where their whole mission is to make the world a better place. And the nice thing is, in an organization, you're going to find people who have values similar to yours. And so it's going to be easier to connect with them on a deeper level. But one problem in our modern society is that we're so precise in the kind of communities we want to find. We want to find a church that exactly matches all of our thoughts and feelings. And so if we can't find one, we just dismiss it altogether. But there's so much value in looking at the bigger picture, being connected to people, being part of something larger than yourself, and working with people together for the greater good. I have a brother who is no longer religious, but he still goes to church with his wife. Why? For the community, for the support, to be connected with other people. So if you're afflicted with the idea that you can only have a community if it's a perfect community, think again. Expand your view of what organizations are for and what a gift this community would be in your life. The next place to look is your workplace. Find opportunities to spend more time with your coworkers outside of work. Get your families together. The point is not to be best friends, but so you can understand each other better. I remember my sister telling me this story about when she had a work party at her house, and she said ever since then, people have treated her differently because they know her so much better. They better know her values. You don't need to be best friends with your coworker, but they need to know that you care. Ask about their families and follow up with them. Remember their birthdays and give them something to show that you appreciate them. Small acts of kindness go a long way in building community, and it just makes life more enjoyable. Service adds spice to your life, and it'll make you enjoy the people you work with more. Next up is your kids' school. Make an effort to get to know their teachers. Ask them about themselves. Share a little bit of your life with them. Many teachers even like to be friended on Facebook. The goal is not to become bosom buddies with everyone you meet, but to make the world a better place for both of you. It feels good to be connected with the person who is caring for your child every day. You feel supported in your community when you regularly connect with your child's teacher and let them know what's going on in your life. One thing I love doing is subbing in the school. I love getting to know the teachers and staff and administrators and rubbing shoulders with these amazing people who spend all day caring for my children. You can also reach out to your kids, friends, parents. Obviously, when your kids are friends, it doesn't necessarily mean the adults are also going to be friends. But being connected with their parents helps you build this loving community. Reach out with a text when you see their child doing something good. Ask about their family, what's going on in their lives. Call them by name when you see them. This is not fake, and this is not just so you can find somebody who can help you do favors. It's safe to assume that everyone needs more people in their lives who genuinely care about them and their kids. Another place to look is exercise classes. For a lot of years, I took an exercise class at the Y. And it's a great way to connect with people about something you care about. I know my parents, my dad is 80, they have joined a water aerobics class. And they love interacting with the people in their class and even sometimes go out to lunch with them. And my brother was telling me that he and his family, they have joined a folk dancing class, because folk dancing is something that my sister-in-law loves doing, and they are significantly younger than everyone else in the class, but they love the interactions they have in that class, and people genuinely care about them and their family. That's what's so cool about joining groups, is there's no expectations there. And so you can really create genuine connections with people when you decide to be part of a class. Serving others is another great way to build community. One idea is anytime you have extra food, let's say you have bananas rotting on the counter, rather than throwing them away or putting them in the freezer, you could think of somebody that could use a loaf of banana bread. Somebody who would really enjoy being thought of. If you've got extra dinner, you could go drop it by somebody's house. Food is a great connector. And so if you have excess, use it to bless others. Another idea is going out to lunch. You could have standing lunch dates with people that you want to get to know better, and use it as a way to grow closer to people. You can also reconnect with people you've known for a long time on Facebook. Share a memory with an old friend, maybe pull up some old photos. This will brighten your day and theirs. Maybe it isn't an in-person connection, but it will help you remember how blessed you've been in the past and remind you that you can continue making memories with people right now. Another way to connect with people is just phone calls and Zoom calls. I love phone calls. My sister and I call each other frequently, and in a lot of ways, she fills a need that I can't find in my community. I live in a really small community. There's not a lot of people like me or who think like me, and so it's really fun to have long conversations with my sister about stuff that I've been thinking about. I also have the privilege of having a Zoom call with my mom and all my sisters once a week. And even though I don't get to see them regularly, I feel like I see them all the time. Because once a week, I get to see them and we get to talk about our lives and what's going on with us. I know a lot of people also really love Marco Polo. So you can have a Marco Polo group with a couple of old friends where you just check in with each other every once in a while. Or if you have just one friend that you really like, but you have a hard time coordinating your schedule so you can actually talk in real time, you can use Marco Polo so you can at least go back and forth talking to each other about things that are important to you. Another way to build community is by complimenting others. How many times have you thought something nice about somebody and just not said anything? But when people know that you like them, they're more likely to trust you. And you guys will have a deeper relationship as a result. One thing I have found when trying to build community is to go smaller, not bigger. Rather than being involved in everything everywhere, go deeper with the people who are natural connection points. It takes a really long time to become close friends with somebody. Did you know you can become a casual friend with somebody in 40 hours, but it takes over 200 hours for somebody to become your close friend. And at the beginning, it can be really awkward. You have to look past their annoying traits or the frustrating things that they do, but please don't give up. I have some close friends in Kokomo that are really different from me, but we're all part of the same church and we all had young kids and we had no family around, so every week we would get together with each other. Our kids are no longer little and we don't necessarily see each other every week anymore. But because we put in that effort, because we put in all of that time, now we can rely on each other. We know there are people right where we live who care about us and want the best for us. And that is worth pushing through awkward for. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about how unequal it most likely be when you start inviting people. Because of the way our society has evolved, people have stopped making their social life a priority. Most likely it will feel very one-sided. And most likely you will have to do all of the inviting. But don't let that stop you or discourage you. Your best friend could be out there, or somebody you really come to love and respect and admire. And you know how deadly it is for people to be disconnected. Remember the 15 cigarettes a day? You could literally be saving someone's life. And just as the happiness report says, connecting with others is going to make your life more meaningful. It's going to make it more joyful. Don't let your frustration with never being invited first, with people often canceling plans on you, keep you from creating the world you want to live in. Just in closing, I want to remind you how dangerous it is to just decide to not like people. Be more open-minded. Work with the people you're already surrounded with. Don't go looking for some magical unicorn best friend. Look for the good in people rather than deciding what makes you not like them. Instead of saying, I have to find these people who perfectly align with my values and match exactly what I'm looking for, instead say, how can I act in such a way that I can become close to the people God has already put in my life? And if you've watched this and you feel inspired to make some changes in your life, it's going to be difficult to change. But God wants this for you. He needs you to bless the lives of others around you. And honestly, it blesses you more than it does the other person. I think about the time I reached out to my neighbor and told them how much I admired their garden, And they ended up giving me more than the small effort it took on my part to reach out to them. You are stronger than you know because you have Jesus Christ on your side. He has died for everyone, and he loves everyone. And he can teach you to love them too. To hear more about my story of moving to a new place and finding mom friends, check out this video next. And if you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone you think it could help. And I'll see you next time.